and welcome to episode 23 of the Good Game Roundtable podcast. I'm Lin Jie Kong, and this is part 6, the final episode of Humans of Good Game, a series on the podcast filled with individual interviews with everyone on the team. We're celebrating Good Game's 10th anniversary this year, so I thought what a better time to ask everyone about their experiences working on the show. This episode is chock-a-block full of interviews with 4 people with very different roles on the show. First up is James Cottee, an award-winning video game journalist, writer-researcher on Good Game, and a man of great mysteries. James, you're one of Australia's most awarded video game journalists.
Oh, you're too kind. You're too kind.
What the hell are you doing on Good Game?
Well, I've been working behind the scenes on the show since late 2009.
What was your first memory of Good Game?
I'd have to say my first memory of Good Game is the people. Video game journalism in Australia is a very small scene. It's a very close-knit community, and we all know each other pretty much. So I first met executive producer Janet Carr and her presenters at one of the industry drinks sessions, and we got along quite well. And that was long before I watched the TV show itself. Before I saw the content, I met the people.
And that's the most important thing, is to meet the people behind the content.
Oh, indeed. You need good people to make good content.
And you need to know who you're going to be working with in the future, right?
Oh, indeed, indeed. This is one of those things. People wonder what networking is. People wonder how you get your start in any field. And all networking is making friends. It's getting drunk with the right people. Basically, every time you meet someone, every time you talk to someone, that's basically a job interview, basically.
Now, growing up, did you ever think that you'd end up working in television? Like, did you harbor dreams of making it into entertainment? Like, what did you want to do when you were growing up?
That's a good question. One always has dreams, but they never become real until... But
I want to know your dreams, James. We've never really broached the subject. Like, what were your dreams growing up?
Video games had always fascinated me.
Yeah.
I'd always wanted to be involved in the industry in some capacity, journalism or making the games themselves. Mm-hmm. But thankfully, those nebulous ideas and concepts have become manifest, and here I am working as part of this wonderful Good Game machine.
Was it a dream becoming a video game journalist?
Yeah. It had fascinated me for some time. I remember reading a story in Zap magazine many years ago about the torturous process of making a home computer adaptation of Golden Axe, a classic arcade brawler from Sega, and how the dev team suffered through trials and torments and zero cooperation from Sega. They didn't have access to any of the code. They had to play through the machine, play through the entire game, and take photographs of the screen to get reference material to create the in-game graphics for the version they were making. That tale stuck in my mind, and it fired my imagination for both what games journalism could be and the behind the scenes world of the making of the games we enjoy.
Now, for anyone who's actually read any of your articles, you have an obvious gift for writing, right? Did you write a lot as a kid?
Honestly, no. Writing has always been... It's never easy. Like, to paraphrase Louis C.K., the comedian, he once said that he's not done with a meal. He's not done finished eating when he's full. Yeah. He's finished eating when he hates himself. Yeah. And I'd say the same is true of writing a quality article. I'm not done when I'm when I hit the word count. I'm done when I hate myself. I'm done when I've rewritten it 20 times and the words just don't register in my eyes anymore.
How painful do you find the writing process? Because for me personally, like I grew up thinking I was a really shit writer until I realized that I was actually a pretty good writer. It was just that I hated writing, and the writing process was extremely painful. And I read something about Thomas Harris, the guy who created the Hannibal Lecter series, Manhunter, Silence of the Lambs and stuff. And he's mentioned that the process of writing for him is perhaps the most painful thing, other than maybe being tortured or something. Well, it is torture for him. He's like basically writhing on the floor, during his writing process, trying to work out ideas and what to do. Like, I don't have it that bad, but is it for you? Like, is it a hard process?
It's never easy. I mean, sometimes it's incredibly difficult, but you just have to do it. You just have to get it done. I mean, I don't think I would have gotten better as a writer if I didn't have regular work. I mean, deadlines are a wonderful, magical thing. When you've got a deadline, you have to get it done. If I didn't have professional work in video game writing, then it would have been just another nebulous idea. So that's another tip for any wannabes or noobs out there. Get deadlines of some sort to discipline you. It gets the job done.
And what do you enjoy most out of the process? Like, you've done a lot of long form articles where, and you've written a lot of research articles. Like, do you enjoy the process of interviewing someone or researching and then going away and trying to analyze and synthesize that information and I guess like putting it together into an article that perhaps will bring something new to an audience?
I do. It's been said that all content creation is content curation. But there's always a subconscious process. I'd strongly recommend a book called A Technique for Creating Ideas. Basically, whenever you're creating something, I find there's always a subconscious process involved. You put down all the facts, you take notes, you try and organize the ideas, but the insight doesn't come straight away. It happens when you're doing the washing up or you're in the shower or what have you. The idea will pop into your head. It has to sort of ferment deep below the conscious meniscus of your brain processes. It's something that comes from within somewhere, yes. It's not a science, it's a dark art.
Would you say you have a lot of creative energy? Or has that been done and gone? That's all been expended in the past.
I would say that I have a love for good content. Energy. That's a good question. Possibly not.
We've gone past that. You're one of the most intelligent guys in the office. And you have a lot of knowledge. You always have great knowledge about, I guess, the beginnings of the gaming industry. Is it because you've worked so long in the industry itself? Like, did that knowledge come through years of experience, or do you have a deep abiding love for kind of those early days? The Steve Wozniak days of Apple.
I'm not quite that old, but it's the evolution of the industry has always interested me and fascinated me. The evolution of the graphics and the business model behind it. I mean, you look at the history of Naughty Dog games. I mean, they created Crash Bandicoot because they only had so many polygons to work with, so they had to create a simple character made of triangles. As the technology got better, they could make more and more detail in the characters. All these... Yes, I'd say the nuts and bolts below the surface fascinate me. The ongoing dramas as well. The great personalities of the games industry. The Peter Molyneuxs and the Sean Murrays and all of the wonderful charlatans who make all of this possible. There's a lot of flim-flammery as well, which I think a lot of us willfully buy into. I mean...
You're a great skeptic of games marketing, probably because you've seen behind the scenes too much. What was the first piece that you published? Do you remember, like, the year? Or?
The very first piece I was ever paid to write was a freelance article in an unofficial PlayStation magazine in 1999. And I honestly could not tell you off the top of my head the name of the game that I previewed, but it was some sort of Pokemon knockoff.
Sure.
Yes.
So it's a lot of years of, delving into this marketing hype, right? And it's not stopping anytime soon. It's just getting bigger and bigger.
Well, I don't want to ascribe any unique talents to myself. I mean, at a certain point, you realize you're being lied to. At a certain point, you realize that there are limits to hype, and a game isn't going to give you a cosmic experience. Remember the E3 conference where Sony announced the PS3, and they released that wonderful Killzone video with its photorealistic graphics, which turned out to be a ridiculous lie. They announced that the PS3 would have a gigabyte of RAM, but it only had half a gig of RAM. They showed this ridiculous boomerang controller that would be the PS3 controller, but it ended up looking nothing like that.
Yep.
At a certain point, one has to become skeptical. If you're not a 0-watt bulb, you sooner or later you notice that there are a few porcupines out there. A tad of exaggeration.
I mean, you're a great fan of games like Monster Hunter. You know, like that takes a lot of skill and a lot of time. Do you feel that kids have it too easy these days? Are they getting are the games too easy? Are they not giving enough creative challenge to the players?
I'd say there's a lot of gutlessness. Publishers sometimes have a calculated idea of what people want as opposed to what they really want or what they really need. And I think the current trend towards Dark Souls and a lot of roguelikes is a sort of rediscovery of the need for difficulty and challenge in games. Something is only meaningful if you earn it.
Yeah, indeed. So getting back to Good Game, you've been on the show for numerous years now, as long as I have, I think, probably. Around there.
Yeah.
What has been your most memorable favourite moment that you've worked on?
I do a bit of behind-the-scenes work on Spawn Point, and there have been many, many incredible special episodes of Spawn Point.
I mean, we have fun on that show, don't we, James?
It's an absolute masterpiece. The Jurassic Park episode, the Star Wars episode, the Ghostbusters episode. If any of you out there in Radio Land, in podcast land, you don't watch Spawn Point, I'd say these are good entry points for potential new viewers. We put a lot of effort into creating these worlds in these special episodes. But if we were thinking of a single individual moment, I'd just say that bit where Kerry O'Brien was Emperor Palpatine for a few seconds.
Yes.
That was a truly magical moment. I was not there for the shoot. I understand that he didn't even understand the context of what he was doing.
He had no idea. I mean, I basically shot that moment. And as with all of these Kerry O'Brien moments, we go to his office. And you think Kerry O'Brien, king of the ABC, he'd have a throne. He might have his private ensuite. No, he basically lives in a broom closet because he's probably, when we shot this, he was on Four Corners and he was only in the ABC 1 day a week. So they basically put him in a room smaller than this one, James, the one that we are recording this interview in right now. And it's all white walls. He's got a computer in there and he's got a shirt rack and that's it. And so basically I set up with a light, I shoot against a white wall and I try and get his head, in front of a white wall. So, our graphics artist Shahane can, composite him out and then put him in the Palpatine cloak. Actually, no, I feel like Goose did that effect. Anyway, either Goose or Shahane. And he had no idea. I basically always print out lines for him, and I we say, Kerry, can you just say these lines? We try and give him a context, but he doesn't understand. But it turns out well. He delivered those lines to camera, as only a professional can do. He's a brilliant guy.
It's just such great world building. It
is.
Plugs Spawn Point into the larger ABC expanded universe.
Yeah. I always say, and I say this a lot when we're shooting Spawn Point, is that I feel like the show is a dramedy, right? It's got its own dramatic structure. It's got its own history. It's got long-running gags and moments and characterization that often doesn't happen in, say, the Good Game vanilla that we call it, the adult show. And in a way, I think, my job on Spawn Point and Janet before me was really about that world building and, giving a sense to our audience out there that, hey, these are like your family members, Every time you switch on the TV, 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning, you're essentially sitting down with your television family and you're privy to all the shenanigans that they're up to, It's good fun.
We don't have some calculating view of what an 8-year-old might like. We genuinely try to make the most entertaining television we can.
Exactly. Well, we basically make things for ourselves. Like if it makes us laugh, it goes in the show. I mean, maybe we have the minds of 8-year-olds. I don't know, James. Maybe that's more telling of us than our audience.
Well, society as a whole has declined in recent years. I mean, if the average citizen has a mental age of 7, then I'd say we're one step ahead, really.
All right, we're above average.
Definitely, everyone in the Good Game office is above average.
Yeah, according to my parents, that's all you need to be. Is as long as you're above average, everything's okay. Having been in the games industry this long, have you played games all your life? Like, what was the first game that you've ever played?
Tough call. Might have been Breakout at a friend's house. Might have been Space Invaders on the Atari at a friend's house.
Yeah.
My family didn't get a computer until relatively late. It felt like an eternity.
Yeah.
It was
not like these kids these days, with the iPads at 3 months old. And
you see kids and toddlers and they've got iPads. It's ridiculous. It's I think it's unhealthy.
So obviously, you grew up with games. What's the one game that takes you to your happy place?
I'd say at the moment, a very heavily modded version of Arma 3. Arma 3, created by Bohemia Interactive, a studio which also creates simulators for the military. Arma is a buggy mess, but it's a very moddable buggy mess. It was Arma that gave the world DayZ when someone figured out how to mod that. And I've got some friends who are very talented and who have created a sort of dynamic mission campaign where we go out and destroy terrorists and usually end up crashing all our helicopters in a ridiculous manner. It can be a very dynamic and chaotic thing. It's
I love the fact that whenever you're passionate about a certain game or you love a certain game, you put some serious effort into it and you put some serious hours into it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so much of a game these days, it's the meta game. You study the statistics, you look into all the tweaks, you update your drivers, all of that stuff. It's like working on a car. It's like being any other kind of enthusiast. It's a tremendously deep hobby, and the most satisfying games, I'd say, the ones that you can put more into, so you can get more out of them.
Fantastic. And to finish off, what are you most proud of during your time at Good Game, and what does Good Game mean to you?
Well, off the top of my head, I'd say it'd be some of the more in-depth documentary stories we've done. I worked with Goose closely to do stories on the 30th anniversary of both the NES and the Commodore Amiga computer, and just looking into behind the development of those consoles and the unique role they had in history, like the way that the NES in America swept in the wake of a tremendous recession in the games industry, and how they managed to set themselves up in a near monopoly position for years there. And it was interesting how such an underpowered machine, very primitive technology, was able to dominate 90% of the home console market. I suppose the flip side of that was the Amiga, which was tremendously powerful for its era. I mean, it debuted in 85, and it had a custom chipset, graphics acceleration, multitasking. It was literally a decade ahead of its time. And for those who had an Amiga back in the day, that was it was a very special place to be. It was a machine that could do things that no other computer could. It was a taste of the future, well in advance. So, yeah,
something close to your heart.
Indeed. I think about the future a lot. But yes. Like some of the stories where we look behind the scenes, the deeper underbelly of the technology that make games possible, and the industry that profits from it all. These sorts of in-depth think pieces. Yes, I'd say I'm proud of the work I've put towards them.
Well, again, that's kind of bringing your journalistic experience and your previous experience in that industry across to a television format, right? Like in the end, we're just kind of dealing with different content formats. Like in terms of the information, you're dealing with similar information. But is there a difference to when you're writing for print to writing for TV? I mean, obviously there is a difference in terms of format, but in terms of what you're trying to think of and what you're trying to convey to the audience?
That's a very difficult question. I'd say I'm always looking for angles that are neglected or whatever's the most interesting. Apologies if that sounds vague, but a lot of it comes back to the personalities. I do regular interviews for PC Power Play magazine, available at your friendly local news agency. And I get to interview wonderful talents like Cliffy B and Julian Gollop and Jeff Minter, and just getting insights into how they do their work and the new frontiers of creativity that they're always trying to explore in their new products. I mean, it's easy to get depressed about gaming and think it's all becoming free to play, it's all just becoming MOBAs. But the reality is that there's more talented and more dedicated persons out there creating more innovative projects than ever before. People say, "Oh, adventure games went away." They didn't. Jane Jensen's still out there making adventure games. All of this wonderful genre entertainment is still there, and it's still improving. And there's still a lot of interesting stuff going on across a full spread of genres. I mean, so there's lots of hope in the distance. Oh, there's hope. There's hope. There's hope in the present. There's hope in the future. There's far too much. Well, there's more than any one person could enjoy in a human lifetime. So, there's no reason for despair. Gaming is still great. Gaming's great.
I mean, what a note to end on, right, James? Thank you so much. Always a fountain of knowledge.
Oh, you're too kind. Thank you.
Much thanks. Bye.
Farewell.
And that was James Cottee. If you recognise the voice, shh, don't tell anyone. It's a big secret. Next up, continuing on the Spawn Point theme, is Spawn Point editor Rowan Togami-Evans.
I did.
Oh my god, peeking.
Yeah, see?
So I'm going to put it on. You never get excited, Rowan.
That's true.
You're like a super smooth,
it's very rarely
low-key dude, right? Which makes you perfect for kids' TV.
Mostly, yeah.
Right?
Like, yeah. But as long as I'm not too Japanese in that sense, like if that Japanese culture rubs off on me where I just sort of like bottle it all up.
Yes.
One day
and it's just repression, right?
Yeah,
and then kaboom.
Yeah, they tend to turn it inwards though.
Yeah. Does that rub off on you a lot? Like, I know your wife is Japanese.
Not really.
But
no.
But have you turned her more Western?
She turned herself very Western. I'll tell you the story of like when she finished high school in Australia.
Yeah.
And because she had learned English in Canada, she had a North American accent.
Yeah.
And so she got sick of people in Adelaide asking her why she had an American accent.
Yeah.
That she studied the Australian accent.
Yeah.
And then took it on. And I was like, when I heard her saying that, I was like, yeah, bullshit. But then she had some Japanese, she was telling the story to some Japanese friends. And then she explained to them exactly how to say the vowels like an Australian. And I was like, oh my God. So yeah, she good ear for that.
Good ear for accents. That's a good thing. Every time I listen back to podcasts or listen to my own voice recorded, I'm always incredibly surprised at how broad my vowels are. Because I never thought that my accent was that ochre. You know, it's not ochre. It's not ochre. It's like, g'day mate, how's it going? Yeah. But it is broader than I sense it to be when I'm talking, which is weird.
Yeah. I think it's true. Most people don't like to hear themselves back audio wise. It's always a surprise when you hear yourself.
Yeah.
Like you go, I don't sound like that, do I?
That's great. You don't have to listen to this, Rowan. We'll just record it. Other people can listen to it.
My wife will listen to it though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
but that's fine because she's not you.
That's okay. She knows what I sound like.
Yeah.
Already.
It's like, you're fine, Rowan. Your voice is fine.
Yeah.
Now, Rowan, you have been with us on Spawn Point for 2 full years.
2 years.
God, it seems like a lifetime, Rowan. It seems like you've been on the show
like
for
half
a lifetime.
an hour. It's like,
yeah. Done.
Where did 2 years go? Oh
2 years,
God.
yeah. What was your first memory of Good Game?
Good Game, the TV show. It must have been just coming across it by accident, like just randomly watching TV and going, oh my God, there's a computer game review show on ABC. Like, you know, probably I would say maybe in the first or second series because I do remember it as being like, I do remember the transition from it being two male presenters to Hex coming on. I do remember that as a vague bit of controversy that popped up my Facebook news feed. You know, Facebook was such a new thing at that time, you know. So that's probably my first memory is just flicking on the TV and going, oh, hey, this is cool. There's a TV show with games in it.
I love how you called it a computer game review show. It's a very old school term, computer games.
It could have been a board game review show, which maybe wouldn't have lasted 10 seasons.
No,
but
I think that would have lasted 1 episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But capture that baby boomer demographic, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you were always a gamer, weren't you?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, old school gamer.
Yeah, I mean, I played games. I remember, like, possibly the first game I ever played was would have been something on my dad's friend's Apple. Yeah. Like 2E or something, like, you know, Snake or something like of that era. I remember kids in my neighborhood having Ataris and then Commodore 64s, and me being really jealous until my dad bought an Amiga 1500.
So what's a game? What's that one game that takes you to your happy place?
And I was thinking about this for a while. 'Cause
Yeah.
you put it to me.
You've had 2 months to think about
And
this.
it's a game that I'd forgotten how much I love, but it's Oni. It's a game that I'd forgotten about for years, but I played the hell out of this game. And I remember I bought my first Mac because around the time, and I was like looking for games to play on this Mac that I bought for editing purposes to teach myself Final Cut Pro.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think all up, like the whole setup cost me like $6,000 or something. It was like quite a bit of money at the time. Anyway, but yeah, this game, Bungie. Yeah, so they never followed up this game. They never went anywhere because they got stuck into Halo.
Yeah.
But this game was awesome. Have you ever seen it or played it?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so it's sort of vaguely Japanese, kind of anime style. You play this character who, like the main thing that was really cool about it was this like excellent fighting mechanic with shooting, sort of like from a third person perspective. But it had this like kind of progression of fighting. So you'd get moves, and so there was like, so it had stealth and stuff as well. So eventually, there was this great move where you sneak up behind someone, like break their back, grab them, break their back. Anyway, it's just like the satisfaction in these moves, like and pulling them off was just like really extreme. It was really good. You could like jump combat roll and pick up a gun as you're rolling and then come up shooting, stuff like that. It was like had this the mechanics worked so beautifully. Yeah, it was awesome. I recommend, you can still find it online, buy a copy on Amazon and load it up on PC or Mac. But you probably need a pretty old Mac operating system to run it.
Yeah. Run it in like legacy mode or something.
Yeah. But oh man, it's so good.
It makes you happy. You think about it,
just thinking about it makes me want to go. I got to track it down again, install it, and play it again through, because it's. I played it through so many times, just trying to perfect it. And there's not that many games that I've had that the desire to want to do that.
Yeah. It's almost like I go back and play certain piano pieces that I've played hundreds of times, thousands of times, and I still play them because there's a joy in making it perfect, because you can never make it perfect. Unless you're like a concert pianist, right?
Right.
And you polish it for like performance.
You can make perfect. You can get everything.
Yeah.
You can find everything. You can tick off every single like medal or whatever. So and I think that's a certain gamer. There's a gamer.
Yeah.
Like view on things that is like.
So
that.
You're a completionist.
A little bit. Yeah. It does happen. If I like a game, I want to do everything.
I'm the opposite of that.
Yep.
I'm like the anti-completionist. Like I will experience something and I'm like, that is great. I've had enough.
Right.
Even story, like narrative games, stuff like Uncharted or Last of Us or even GTA. Like, we've got our colleagues here who will 100% everything. They will like find every tribal mask or, every element.
Yep.
I'm like, no, I'm cool. I've done that game now.
Yeah,
I've had my experience. Thank you very much. I'm not going to go back and try and find those treasures.
Yeah, I think that's why another one of my favorite games is the Mass Effect series.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I like that game so much, because having to replay a game where it's the same cutscenes, the same dialogue, and it's like, for a completionist, but you've got to sit through those. Sure, you can skip them or whatever, but often it's just tedious. Like, yeah. I mean, so much bad writing in games, so much bad storytelling, that you go, come on, let's just get through it. Oh, this character's a douchebag. Oh no, and like but the game is awesome. The gameplay might be good. So, but Mass Effect, I thought, as cheesy as a lot of it is, had that like replayability in terms of going through it, playing in a different way and seeing how different character interactions play out. That was really good. And I remember getting Mass Effect 3 and I'd played 1 and 2 on an Xbox that had died and I couldn't import my character. And I'll just play it. And I loaded it up and played it. I was, oh my God, this sucks. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And I was hating on it really a lot. And like, oh, this character's dead now. No. And like, what's going on? And like, not realizing that if I had imported my character, like I would have been playing a totally different game.
Yeah.
And so I went back to Mass Effect 1 and played through, making all the same decisions that I had originally. And then just kept on doing it and going, oh yeah, maybe if I do this, and like it wasted a lot of my life on that game.
Are you excited about Andromeda?
I am. Yeah, I am. I don't have as much free time these days, so I won't be able to like deeply immerse myself in that. I'm just had a little, cautiously.
The kids don't have kids, right? Like if you want to continue gaming, don't have kids.
Don't have a really good spouse. If you are going to have kids who's like very tolerant of you staying up to 2:30.
Or grandparents. Give your kids to the parents.
Give them to the grandparents. Yeah, you can game.
It's fine.
It's perfectly okay. But that's, I mean, like this. I think if you ask most parents, most gamers who are parents, I think you'll find that the only time that they can play anything is late at night.
Yeah.
It's the only time.
So this is going to be quite Spawn Point specific, but what has been your favourite moment working on the show?
On Spawn Point?
Yeah.
Drinking from the noob cup?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because we made you drink from the noob cup.
Yeah, because I left a super, a game review box off a game, and someone noticed and wrote in and made me drink from the noob cup. It's like, you guys.
It's a dangerous show, man. It's a dangerous show to work on.
Nothing gets past those kids. Nothing.
Nothing
at all.
It's like everyone lives in fear whilst working on Spawn Point of the noob cup, right?
Yeah. Has anyone not had the noob cup?
As in, has anyone not sipped from the noob cup? I haven't.
I don't think you have.
I haven't made a mistake yet, Ron.
We'll see about that. there's a lot of changes coming.
See, the thing is, I think in my position in being producer director, most of my mistakes would have been fixed by your end anyway.
Someone, that's
right. Like I don't think my errors, because like there are so many checks and balances before my errors are noticeable. Like if my errors are noticeable, like during broadcast, then something has gone drastically wrong.
I have done a terrible job.
Yeah.
I have done a terrible
As in you
job.
have done a terrible job.
Yeah, if I can't fix that. Because really, it's like if you do make a mistake, it's not going in the show.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's it. It's like
or we do another take or something, or we find something to fix it or cover it. So I think I'm going to be pretty sweet.
I think you'll be okay,
unless you collude with Bajo, Hex, Goose, and Darren to get me to drink from the new cup. Anyway, that could be something for next year.
Yeah.
Is there something that you're incredibly proud of on Spawn Point?
I'm proud of 2 episodes. I think the horror one, and the fantasy one. Yeah, I think those 2, they're going in the show reel.
Yeah,
like I really enjoyed editing those 2 episodes. It was heaps of fun.
Yeah, because by that time we decided to roll in narrative elements throughout the episode.
Yeah,
because back in the old days we'd do a Spawn Point special and it would just be dress up and set. Yep. It wouldn't really be narrative elements. But then we introduced narrative elements like maybe in the middle, and now we do narrative elements like top, middle, and end of a show that interweave everything within the show.
Yeah. Yeah, and if they had got special effects, then Gus often takes them and does the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Because he's adding the After Effects. Like in the Star Wars episode, like his little lightsaber
duel.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Good,
I love it. But yeah, it wasn't mine. It was his.
Those 2 episodes are yours, man.
Yeah,
because there's this whole because we had like so much coverage in that Halloween one.
Yeah.
Right at the start, like
that was good fun.
The Goose, Dr. Goose coming in.
And Dr. Goose. Yeah.
Basically,
and
unleashing Franken Darren.
That's right.
On the world.
And we had, Bajo was, what was Bajo again?
He was a vampire, Who was Count Bajula.
Count Bajula. Yeah, that's right. Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh man, good times. So to finish off, Rowan, I mean, I guess 2 years isn't a long time. I mean, because at lunch today, I was like,
20th month.
Holy crap! This year is my 6th full production year on Good Game. So I've done 6 times 46 weeks of production on, the various shows that we do, which is a god awful amount of TV.
So, this is my 21st year in TV.
21st, jeez, I got a while to go.
Yeah.
I got a while to go then.
I mean, I don't know if TV's going to be around for the 21 years.
Yeah.
Well, it will be. Radio is still here. But, it's certainly, I expect media to radically change over 21 years.
Yeah.
It's the way, the trajectory it's on. Things like...
I mean, you're an opinionated man. What do you think the trajectory would be? For something like Good Game, something that does deal with an aspect of culture that is very much online at the moment. Where do you think?
Well, I mean, the obvious thing is to say that, content on demand is where it's at now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people want to watch what they want to watch in sessions when they want to.
Yeah.
And, it's the whole, scheme of we're going to, force you into watching this thing at a certain time.
Yeah.
That's finished. And if anyone thinks it hasn't, they're living in the past.
Yeah.
So the future is obviously, it's already here, it's online. But I think how, really, if you're talking in the future, you're talking more along the lines of overlaid, reality, so virtual reality, or your more Pokemon style
augmented
reality of some kind. If anyone... there's no device yet, something that'll be like a Google Glass type device that won't be as stigmatizing, right? And that failed because of the stigma. But it was just too soon.
Yeah.
Right. So there'll be an application that will drive that technology into the hands of the mainstream, and people will adapt it. And and then it's gonna be like the opposite of They Live. It's going to take the glasses off, man. Come on, take it to see reality for what it's like. Everyone will be you see already.
That's like WALL-E. You've seen WALL-E?
WALL-E.
Seen WALL-E? Pixar?
I have
Yeah.
seen. Yeah.
You know how humans end up on spaceships ensconced in their own virtual reality?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be like that.
Yeah. Sort of, kind of, yeah.
Just microchip us now, I'd say.
Yeah.
I'm willing to be microchipped. I'll put it out
there.
there.
It's going to be THX1138.
Yeah.
What's wrong?
Beep.
Yeah.
Beep.
Take the drugs, man.
Yeah.
You're going to have to...
I won't ever need my Opal card again.
You won't? No.
I'll be microchipped.
Yeah.
Beep. Everywhere. Yeah. No bank cards, no nothing.
Yeah, and they'll give you a universal basic income.
Yeah.
Because no one will be working because there'll be...
Because there's no jobs. You know what I read a couple of days ago? I think it was an Atlantic article or something about it was called excuse my language, fuck work or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Did you read that article?
Yeah, I think...
and it was about basically the death of, full-time work and the fact that there is not enough work, at least in Western countries, to go around.
Yeah.
For people to fulfill that need to, earn money to then exchange it for goods and services.
That's right. And not only that, I came across a similar thing from an anarchist guy who's forgotten his name, but he is the guy who kicked off Occupy Wall Street. Mm-hmm. And he came up with the phrase, the 99%.
Yeah.
So, but he has a really good thing about, most jobs, most office jobs, and we know that they exist here at the ABC, right? They're people.
Shh, they exist outside the store, Rowan.
Any organization, and it's not just the public sector. It exists in places. It exists in places in the private sector as well. But in a huge way, right? People doing bullshit jobs, right? They're just shuffling papers around. They actually do not contribute at all to the economy.
Well, then when people say
way.
pen pushers, some people's jobs literally is to push pens from one side of the desk to the other and back again, metaphorically, with the type of work that they do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and like, so a lot of these bullshit jobs could just go. But I mean, if you follow the anarchist kind of line of thinking,
Yeah.
a UBI is a really terrible idea because if you automate everything, and everything is owned by large corporations, right? So it's not even owned by the state at that point. You're beholden on an income, like your whole ability to eke an existence and to live is like this sort of state corporate kind of agreement, right? Let's say, okay, if you're a functioning member of our society, you have to toe the line, follow the laws, and you have your universal basic income. There's no work, there's no option to that. So if you don't follow exactly what the state says you need to do, then you're out of work. And not only that, they'll probably bill you for the universal basic income you've already soaked up, right?
Yeah.
So like, you can imagine this being a very dystopian situation.
This is a horrific future. I feel like you should write a novel as using this as a premise.
I think there's already a lot of people onto that. Yeah, I mean, it's not my idea. I mean, I'm just letting you know.
Just take it. It's Rowan's idea, guys. Rowan's going to be writing a book soon, and
don't
he'll
accept
publish
the UBI, kids. Don't. Struggle for your money. Struggle for work.
Are you a bit of an old school anarchist?
Not really. No. I lean that way. I lean vaguely towards libertarianism as well.
Yeah.
I do believe that government should stay the hell out of people's personal lives in that sense. So I'm a kind of libertarian. But I also am a social democrat really at heart. I think that you have to temper the tendency of wealth to concentrate in the top hands.
Yeah.
Because it just destabilizes society, and then you end up with a bunch of like pitchforks and flaming torches, and the whole thing goes.
Or someone needs to step in and address market failure on the basic needs and goods and services. Right?
Yeah, that's right. Markets
like
aren't
healthcare and
efficient.
education.
They're great tools.
Yeah.
But they do really stupid things some of the time. And to say otherwise is just flying in the face of facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, always an interesting chat, Rowan.
Thank you.
Always fascinating. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And that was Rowan. I have the greatest chats to Rowan about politics and sports science during our edit sessions. And did you know he's a big practitioner of the Russian martial arts Sistema? That's one for your trivia books. Next, I had a quick chat with our favourite cameraman/director of photography, John-Paul JP Davies. On to...
Talk.
JP, how's it going, man?
Good, mate. How you going?
End of the year.
End of the year.
We're
Doesn't
almost
stop.
there. No, never stops. Never stops at the ABC.
Yeah, I know.
We just keep on going. So I know you're busy. I'm busy. I'm going to keep this quick. What was your first memory of Good Game?
First memory was Good Game was when I came to the ABC as a trainee. And then we went up to level 9, which used to be the old studio. And I think I was with Sue Lumsden, who used to be the camera operator back then, or it was probably that, or Dennis Brennan. And
Dennis.
Old
school.
Yeah. And I just remember just sitting in and meeting Barjo and Hex back then, and I think Janet was directing. And I remember meeting Barjo for the first time and him just being super stoked about Battlefield 3 coming out, because I don't know if you remember back then when Battlefield 3 was coming out, it was like a big deal.
Yes.
Because it was different from COD and stuff like that. So, that was my first introduction to Good Game.
Was it weird meeting Barjo for the first time?
I just remember him being super amped. You know what I mean? So, he's the same on screen as he is off
He's
screen.
always super amped.
Yeah.
That's Barjo. So have you been full time with us for 2 years now?
I basically came on full time this year. I've been on and off.
Has it only been this year?
This year, yeah.
Oh my god, it feels like years, JP.
Yeah, no.
It feels like we've been through the battlefield. We've been through the trenches for years. Has it only been this year?
This year, full time on Good Game. I've been on and off over the past probably 2-3 years, doing random shows because Sue was sort of the main.
She was main.
She was main on the whole
man.
thing.
See, this is how long this year has been Like I felt like this year has been a decade long.
We've aged 2 years.
Yeah. Well, hey, 2 overseas trips with you this year. I mean, that's some true bonding time.
I know. It's been full on. It's been full on.
Yeah, we're best buddies now.
Yeah, that's right.
You can't get rid of
We added each other on Facebook, so it's all good.
So, I know you've only been with us for a year and with ad hoc in the last few years. What has been your favorite moment working on the show?
Honestly, it was probably going over for GDC at San Francisco. It was probably the biggest trip that I've done with the show. It was, the first trip, and just, it's just a totally different experience. Shooting, trying a different style, and, working with such a small crew, you know what I mean? I think I learned a lot. It was just a great experience.
And then by E3, it was like, this is a piece of cake now.
Yeah. It's a cakewalk. But yeah, even just seeing it on TV, it was just so satisfying. Do you know what I mean? Like it was almost like we were shooting a home video, and I was like, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that,
I remember that moment during that week.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a great trip. What has been your proudest moment on the show?
Proudest moment? Or favorite moment?
Well, you had your favorite moment, so that was GDC.
I'd say GDC would be my proudest moment.
Yeah. It could be the same thing,
But my I guess where I didn't shoot it, but you shot a backwards compatible with Gus, and it was a James Bond skit.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, I was sort of Sue was shooting it, but I was sort of on the periphery.
Yeah,
and just seeing it, and then just seeing it like on air, I was like, this is like the most complete segment I've ever seen. It was so perfect.
It's like a real thing.
Yeah, it was like just the what was Barge's name? Bargefeld?
Yeah, Bargefeld.
Just his makeup and John the editor as the henchman. I've never seen perfect casting. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was so good as a pseudo Jaws, basically. And just seeing the whole segment come together on TV, that was great.
If only we had more time to do more of those.
Yeah, that's right.
No more money. Now, you're a little bit of a gamer. You do play games. What is the game that takes you to your happy place?
It would have to be probably Warcraft 2, I think, because that was back in the day when we didn't have Xbox Live and all these multiplayer games you play on the internet now. Basically, we had to run a cable to the nearest computer and play. And it was the first time I ever played multiplayer with someone else with a different computer. They had to physically bring their PC closer. So me and my neighbor used to play multiplayer Warcraft and Duke Nukem 3D by literally throwing a cable over the fence to his computer. And it was just the exhilaration of, playing against.
Of being able to network a computer together.
Yeah, that's right.
Kids these days won't understand.
No, they won't. It's so easy now. And almost you get desensitized now, like just because you played COD so much and you're just so used to just getting into games with 16 people. But, a game with 4 people with like 4 PCs in a room was just amazing back then, basically. So, that brings me back to like the first sort of pure multiplayer experience. Yeah.
Amazing. Last question. What does good game mean to you?
Honestly, it's a special place in my career that I've worked on a bunch of different shows at the ABC, but I've never met a team so tight-knit as a good game team. You talk about movies together, you talk about games together, you hang out together. It's a very special sort of thing to see, coming in full-time this year, just to see how well you guys work together and how passionate you are on not just about games, but making good television as well. So, you pushing the boundaries of what you want pushes me, you know what I mean, to achieve those things. So, I guess good game just a special place to me
with that.
We're also a cult. That's what
A cult, yes.
That's what I've said to everyone. I mean, you basically when you tell it like that, we are a cult. We're a cliquey cult.
A clicky,
nerd
hard
cult.
to get in cult.
Yeah, exactly. If we love you, you're in forever.
Yeah.
But if we hate you,
Oh, mate. It'll be so quick. Defriending on Facebook.
no, you won't even get friended on Facebook. What are you talking about?
Right.
Well, thank you so much, JP.
Thank you.
What an incredible year.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It felt like 10, but it was amazing.
Yep.
And I think you'll be coming back next year. I hope so.
Hopefully. Still waiting for that memo, but yeah, maybe.
They'll just tell you to, So JP, you're working on a good game this year?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, that's right. I'll get that call sheet for.
Onwards and upwards for next year,
No
JP.
worries.
Thanks very much.
Then. Cheers.
Yeah, bye. JP. He'll be forever the fun older brother I never had. And to round things off for the final episode, it's our supervising producer, Eliot Fish, a man of quiet temperament and many, many talents. Elliot, holidays next week. What a year.
What a year.
What a crazy, crazy, crazy year of good game.
Every year, at the start of the year, we prepare ourselves, don't we? We kind of we have to get into the right mental state. Mm-hmm. We brace ourselves for impact. And I think at the end of every year, we're like, how did we get through it? We're going to do it again next year.
It's either how we got through it and why did we do this? Like, why did we say
volume,
yes?
Isn't it? It's the sheer volume of work, the content, the amount of stuff that we make every week. And
now, you've probably worked on Good Game probably the same amount of years I have overall. Probably 6 years, you'd say?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there?
I'd be going into my 7th year next year.
So I was just doing the calculations, like 6 times 46 weeks of production.
Wow.
That's a lifetime, isn't it? It's a
I'm
long
terrible with
time.
maths. What is that?
I don't know.
Yep.
646, 240, 36, 276. 276 weeks of television production.
And yet, I feel like there's still a lot the show hasn't done on video games.
Yeah.
You know? Like there's the classic sort of topics that, that you sort of think about and you tend to go to, I don't know, cultural impact of games and, is gaming an art form? All that kind of stuff. Gaming's positive effects on mental health. I don't know, there's all this sort of the tired old stories that I think have been done to death.
Yeah. What's something that you would love to explore that we haven't explored yet?
No. I think that will be technology driven.
Yeah.
This year we had all the VR stuff. Who knows what will come next year? Maybe suddenly it'll all shift to the augmented reality.
Yeah.
Suddenly they'll be like, oh, screw that VR stuff. Augmented reality works better.
It's all about AR. Now, having been someone who's had a very long career in the games industry, what was your first memory of Good Game?
Yeah, so I came onto the show at the end of 2009. It was Bajo and Junglist, and it was such a small team. I mean, it was only like four or five people in the office, I think. And I don't really remember much of it. It's a bit of a blur, the last few months of that year, because I was getting my head around how the show worked. How did this show about video games get made?
But obviously you knew about the show before that moment, before you came on.
Yeah. I mean, I'd seen it on TV. I'd watched it a couple of times. Thought it was kind of kooky.
Yeah.
Very niche.
And were you working at Hyper at that stage?
I was a freelance journalist.
Oh, you were freelancing, yeah.
Yeah, I was a freelance gaming journalist at that time. I was writing... I'm not sure if I was still writing for Sydney Morning Herald, but I used to do games content in the Sydney Morning Herald on the Saturday and Monday editions and stuff like that, and freelancing for all the specialist magazines like Hyper and PC Power Play, some others I can't recall that probably don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
I think maybe I was doing a bit of online writing as well. Just reviewing games, writing a lot about games. And that's why the show brought me on, to sort of write a few little pieces about games and backwards compatibles on, gaming franchises.
So that first day coming into the office, and you guys would have been on level 9 at that stage, I think.
Yep.
Did you ever think at any point that show would have turned into the, empire that it is today within the ABC?
It's amazing, isn't it? It's just sort of continued to grow in many ways. I remember on level 9 when we were shooting in that little cupboard space, it was like, it's now, we're about 3 or 4 people sit at desks.
Yeah.
They walled it off in that tiny little room where, the counterweight on the jib had like blankets wrapped around it. So in case you got clocked in the head while you're directing, that's how small it was. And there was like the little sort of props room that you'd have to walk through to get into that room. And that was always like just crammed with things.
Well, Sandy was always in that room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just need like a sandbag or something, and you couldn't get it without having to sort of wheel the arcade machine out into the hallway.
Yeah.
And there'd be other people working, like trying to go to the kitchenette to make a cup of tea, and there's this arcade machine in the way. And then you'd get what you need and wheel it back in. Yeah. Things would fall on you, like as you would, prop plastic swords and things would fall on your head as you're getting things out to shoot with. And it was just sort of such a sort of a small, relaxed, casual environment, or it felt like it from memory. Like I seem to remember it being pretty laid back. There seemed to be a lot of time to work on a piece. Like I think I had like a whole week to make it backwards compatible. Yeah. Gathering footage. And like the way we were doing it too. Like I think I was doing something on like the Nintendo DS or something, and we'd have to gaffer it to the table. Put the camera over it on a tripod, frame it up, wipe the grit off the screen, and somehow try and play the game sort of craning your neck so you went in the way of the camera.
Well, I remember because when I was interning on the show in 2010, I think I had to capture some 3DS games, and you basically had to shift yourself and cram yourself underneath the tripod, underneath the camera.
Yeah, kneeling on the ground in front of the desk.
Yeah, to try and play the 3DS game. Thankfully, we've got a capture system now.
Yes.
So out of all the years that you've worked on the show, what has been your favourite, or maybe some of your favourite moments?
I think my favourite moments are the times when I've been able to be on the show. I think they're my favourite moments, because when you're working behind the camera, it is all a bit of a blur, I think, because you and it's those times when you might get to do a little cameo or something that sort of stick in my memory because it's a bit of a thrill. Yeah. Playing the mailman on Spawn Point.
Oh, who could forget the mailman? If you haven't seen it, folks, there's I think, supercut of all your mailman moments from Spawn Point from like 2014. Was that the year that we did it? Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seems like a long time ago.
But like getting to play against these characters that we help, create, like that. It's just sort of fun. Like suddenly there I was in front of Darren, having to interact with Darren on camera. Like that was fun. Instead
of telling Darren what to do.
Writing words for him. It's like, oh, he's there, and I can sort of interact with him like an actual character. That's so much fun. And doing like the voices for the Tiny Power animation and stuff like that. Spring rolls, all that stuff.
Well, we talked about this I think years ago, but you wanted to be an actor at some stage, or at least a performer. But you had like inklings.
Yeah.
Well, I guess performances in your system.
When I was a young thing, I thought about that. I remember my English teacher telling me I should go and apply for NIDA or something. But I was just like, don't want to do that.
But you were also a rock star at that stage, so I think you made the right decision.
Yeah, I was busy playing bass guitar and big heavy stuff.
Yeah.
So so I did that instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good decision.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of slaving it over in drama school and then coming out and doing, maybe Coles commercials or...
Now I get to play Angry Boss on
Yeah,
for
you've
7
been,
seconds.
You've been an angry boss or Mr. Management a couple of times. Like you've got
Mr.
that.
Management. Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that was the other one.
you've got that kind of middle manager look down. I think.
I'm typecast.
Anyone in a suit, like a manager in a suit, we come to you.
Yeah. Well, because I'm now that Sidski's left, I'm the oldest person on the team.
You
Is that
are.
right? I am.
think you are.
I am the oldest person on the team, so I have to play the boss.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Were you older than Naz? Or was he older than you? Yeah.
Yeah. Naz and I worked together when he was editor of N64 Gamer and I was editor of Hyper. We knew each other back then, back in the around early 2000s.
So now that Naz has left and Ben has left this year, there's like a huge gap between
Shh, don't say that.
management and,
Not
and the
a
rest of
huge
us.
gap.
No. I think
small gap.
I think Rowan's sporting something. So
A modest gap.
no, Rowan's old, so it's fine.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. But I'm young at heart.
You are young at heart.
I am young at heart.
But to be honest, like all of us have gotten a lot older. I'm not saying anything. Like I first came on the show as a 24-year-old and suddenly it's like, whoa, where did the years go? And suddenly I'm seeing, these 24-year-olds coming in as coordinators and I'm like, once I was like you and now
fresh-faced.
And now I'm jaded and old. Anyway, what are some of your proudest moments? I want to talk about some of your proudest moments.
I think probably the challenge of making a Good Game stage show, that whole Good Game Live experience, and the very first one that we did at the Opera House for the Graphic Festival. That was so exciting, like suddenly we were in that theatre. Which theatre is it? I can't remember.
It was the drama
theatre.
studio, I think.
The drama studio at the Opera House. Treading the boards.
Yeah.
Going, wow, look, we're a stage show. And then seeing that evolve, because that first one was a bit ropey. Like it was very satisfying to do and the audience embraced it. But, we were sort of sitting there up the back going, oh, this should be so much better.
Yeah.
And we did. We got there. I think the last one that we did was for was that the
Town Hall?
Comedy Festival at the Sydney Town Hall?
Yeah.
That was pretty special.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was good fun. We got a good show there.
I think it's always incredible. I mean, you tell people that we're essentially TV people making a live show, having never done a live show before.
Yeah.
But over the course of maybe 5 years, we got there.
Yeah.
It's like now we can do a live show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not like production on the TV show could stop so that we could sit down and go, right, now we make a Good Game stage show. What shall we do? And production on that would begin and end. It was just something that we had to do in the background while making the TV show, which was such a challenge. But somehow we sort of did that. Who knows what the future is for a Good Game sort of live. Yeah. There's probably a few different approaches we'll take in 2017. Certainly the show itself on the TV is going to feel quite different, and that's rather exciting.
We're not going to talk too much about it because we can't say too much. But obviously Sidski, Janet Carr, Janet Gator, whatever name she wants to be called now, Janet is leaving us after 11 incredible years. I know it's a 10th anniversary, but technically it's been 11 years. And she's not leaving the ABC, but will be on other projects. And we have a new executive producer coming in, Nick Hayden, who is previously from The Feed at SBS. And you're also taking care of, I guess, the big show, and I'll still be on Spawn Point. But there are some big changes happening with Good Game next year. Are you excited about that?
Yeah, very excited. I mean, yeah, we can't say too much other than, I think as people have seen on Good Game this year, and as you would have seen in the Christmas special we made, we have a family of presenters now. Bajo and Hex have always been the mum and dad of the show, but we have a wider cast of characters now.
Yeah.
So we're going to have more fun, I think, utilizing all
a
of our
dysfunctional
presenters.
family of presenters.
Yeah. It's the Good Game Justice League, as we said earlier in the year.
But is it exciting having this opportunity to revamp a show that's been around for so long, and also to see how you may explore, say, some of those things that you mentioned earlier, that gaming shows haven't really explored, or that we haven't explored as a show?
Yeah, it's kind of like we've thrown out the rule book to some extent in thinking about what we might do next year. And it just sort of opened up all these ideas, which, I don't want to talk about now because we want to work on those ideas and bring them to the show next year. But you kind of think about it and it's like, why have we never done these things? Why have we never made a segment about this or presented something this way? And I think it's just because Good Game was a very sort of solidified format, and it was Janet's show, and our job was to make that show. And this is just an opportunity to try some new things, and you can all blame me.
If it doesn't all work, you guys can all blame Eliot. No, it's going to be brilliant, Eliot. I have absolute belief that we will knock it out of the park, and whatever we make will be fantastic.
Yeah, I hope we have a lot of fun making it too.
Yeah, but speaking about games, you've had a very long career. You've been a gamer all your life. What's a game that takes you to your happy place?
Yes. I mean, that should be a hard question, but I always come back to this game.
Yeah.
And that's Zelda: A Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo.
Oh.
That was when I'd sort of rediscovered gaming again, because I gamed a lot when I was a kid. I had a Commodore 64 and I used to play a lot of text adventures and things like that. Had an Atari 2600. And then when I was a teenager and going through high school and as a young adult, I sort of had stopped gaming, and then in the 90s I sort of picked it up again. And I went and bought a Super Nintendo. And I'd go to the local shop and buy lots of, you'd pick the box up off the shelf and you'd go, what's this game about? You'd look at the back of the box, and that's how you'd sort of decide to buy the game or not.
And the artwork would always look spectacular, but then you put the game in, it's like, 8-bit graphics or something.
And I think A Link to the Past had like a golden box, or even the cartridge was gold. And there was just sort of something special and magical about it. But anyway, one of the first things you do in the game is it's just sort of setting the mood in Hyrule. There's like, the beautiful 16-bit artwork. And it's raining, and there's sort of like a little crack of thunder, and the rain starts falling, and Link wanders out the front of his house. And you just sort of running through the grass with that rain sort of pitter-pattering down. And it just had this amazing sort of atmosphere to it for me. And, I will never forget sort of that feeling. And I will always go back to that, even that moment of when you first leave your house and that rain, that little 16-bit rain dropping down in the music and everything like that, for me is my favorite sort of gaming memory, sitting in front of the TV. Yeah, that's definitely A Link to the Past.
And you can always go back and play it and bring a smile to your face.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's like probably every 10 years I'll play that game.
Yeah.
Once enough time has passed that I've kind of forgotten where certain things are in the world again.
Well, it's great because then you can rediscover all those delights once more.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And I am excited about the Switch.
Yes.
Like, I do hope it has a good virtual console where I can play games like A Link to the Past again, just like they have had in the past. But the fact that it might have GameCube virtual console games like that, that's cool. I really want to care about a new Nintendo console again because
Well, now that you are a father, you have to just make game time count, right? Like you have to pick it up.
Yeah,
anywhere
be perfect. The Switch
you can get it
to like introduce my son who's 4 into gaming. The Switch will be the console to do that, I think, because they'll have such sort of good family-friendly games that we can play together. Yeah, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Lots of things to be excited about next year. So many good games. Like I thought this was a good year for games, but next year it's still like, oh my God, we're going to get a new Mass Effect. We're going to get maybe Red Dead Redemption 2, like all these amazing good big games like
Last of Us 2, 2018.
Yeah, I think so. 2018. Yeah.
It's all right. Red Dead will get me through next year. And then Last of Us 2 the year after. To round off, we've been talking about how many years we've been on this show. What does good game mean to you?
It's kind of hard to put yourself outside of the show.
Because it's all encompassing. It's like a cult, really.
Yeah, I think it's a unique show in that it really feels like it's part of the community as opposed to sort of something that exists outside of the gaming community. Like I think a lot of other game shows that have been made have tended to be sort of driven by publishers or advertising or things like that, where it's about just sort of selling product. But Good Game is a show that's sort of for gamers by gamers. There you go. It's, it's for the community, and I feel like it, we're just a bunch of people who loves games, and it's our show as much as it is the viewers at home. But it sort of feels like we're just like you, people who love games, and so it's just
Well, what's special is I think for a lot of us, we've come in because this is our career, basically, right? We've come in, for a lot of us, just straight from uni or from a grad program or through work experience. And it's like our first career was Good Game. And it's almost like a first love type thing where you're always going to remember it because it was your first shot or first career. But for someone who has had multiple careers before Good Game, I'm really interested to know your notion about what Good Game is for you.
It's just kind of like there's something about coming home to sort of like a family of people, of like-minded people who all love games, It's just sort of something, I don't know, gaming and being a games journalist in the past just felt like very isolated.
Because it's a lonely task, writing.
Writing's lonely, and games.
Task,
games you'd just sit and play on your own, and then you'd write the thing on your own, and then just submit it, and you'd never see it again. And working on a show like Good Game it is like a weird little share house.
It is.
It's like we're a little family, all very different personalities, and but we're all sort of driven by the same sorts of passions and interests.
Yeah.
And driven by all wanting to see something really good get made. There's no one here that's just cashing a paycheck. Like everyone really is passionate about what they do and in making something good. And that's always inspiring. Like everyone on the team has a certain skill that I think no one else has. So, I think we all bring something and that's sort of inspiring to each other, and it's a real pleasure and honor, I think, to work on Good Game.
So it's exactly like a cult. Excellent.
We need a mantra.
Yeah. Well, by gamers for gamers, right? That's the mantra. Thank you so much, Eliot. What incredible excitement I have for next year and what is going to be on the screens.
Yeah.
And I think our audience should be excited. I think it's going to be really cool and it's going to be different, but I think if people can accept and embrace the difference, I think they're going to have a really good time.
Yeah. Different and yet somehow
the same. It's like coming home.
Warm and cozy. It'll still feel Good Game.
It's like your parents just, did some interior design in the house, right? And you've come home after 6 weeks summer holidays.
Yeah, and the parents have got on holidays for a year. And we're just going to, and we will play.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Eliot.
Okay, thanks, Lin Jie.
And that was Eliot Fish, and he'll be putting together the new field Good Game of 2017 next year. Exciting times ahead, folks. And that's it for Humans of Good Game. I hope you've gained more of an insight into the brilliant people behind your favourite show. As always, if you have a comment or question, tweet me at LGeology or leave a comment on SoundCloud or Facebook. You can also subscribe to this podcast through iTunes or listen through SoundCloud. I'm Lin Jie Kong. Till next time, goodbye.